If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
Africa Business Radio, towards a profitable Africa.
Oluwatoyin is an HR professional with 9 years private and public sector experience distinguished by extraordinary proven ability to engage wide and deep by cultivating trust, rapport, and credibility with senior executives, networking and building relationships to create value. An MBA HRM First Class Honours graduate from Dublin Business School. His specific areas of expertise include HR strategy, HR transformation, employee relations, change management, talent management, recruitment and selection, and performance management. He is an excellent trainer and facilitator with exceptional communication skill. He is agile, resilient, adaptable, and can manage change. He has developed strong leadership, people management, analytical, communication, interpersonal, coaching, and team working skills over the years through personal development and professional experiences. Oluwatoyin has led assigned human capital projects in the areas of retention, engagement, compensation, talent acquisition, intern programs, talent management and organizational design or effectiveness project, and BPRs in private and public sectors.
There are 1.8 billion globally. That will make 75% workforce by 2025. That will outpace earnings of baby boomers in less than 10 years. Smartphones and tablets are the argument settlers and fact checkers of every conversation. Get more insights on Africa Millennials on Africa Business Radio, towards a profitable Africa.
Wow, it's been a long week. Beautiful Wednesday afternoon. How's everyone doing? How's my listeners? It's the African Millennial Radio Show, and it's Tomi Wale with you again. I've been enjoying this show from inception. It's been an interesting lesson after the other. It's something on millennials and the creative energy. It's something on millennials and the business structure. It's something on millennials and understanding that we have to get into corridors and be in political rooms to ensure that policies and decisions are not made outside our scope of what is expected. How are we doing? How's work? How is life? How is Africa? All right, on this episode, we have a very, very interesting person. I've known him for about 7 years now. I think 2012. I met you through Sheyola Daniels.
Yeah.
And it's been really good. I was on LinkedIn recently, and I just got this message from him. Like, hey, Tommy, how you doing and everything? You know, I do this, I do. I was like, okay, cool. I'd like to have you on the African Millennial Radio Show. Like, yeah, sure. And then I asked, okay, what's it going to be about? Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very, very, very important topic that we've not fully addressed, and it has always been a problem. It's on human resource. And we have Oluwatoyin David Ajayi with us today.
Thank you
Hi,
very
David.
much. Well, I'm very well, thank you.
So
Thanks.
what should I call it? David or Toyin? Which one should I go with?
You're at liberty to
Okay.
choose.
I mean, millennials are very, 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 very interesting people. We are interesting people. We get into the office and we wonder what is happening here again today. You know, the boss wants us to do it exactly the way he did it 10 years ago. I was saying, oh, God, it is 2019. Can we just relax and send an email instead? Can I just do it in a simple way? But many things like that. So I've had a problem. I've been an employer of labor for 5 years now. And sometimes I try to manage the people who have worked with me. Some even go to the extent of sending me an email at 2 a.m. And then there are some who won't just answer me because they're not ready to send that email. And I'm wondering, so I myself always had that problem. So I took it back and I was like, okay, is it because we weren't maybe taught some things in school? Or was it something that the older generation knew and then didn't pass on to us because the way they passed it on to us was through a tone of mockery? Right. So you're too lazy. That's the only thing you do. You're always on your phone instead of you to sit down and work. But meanwhile, I'm on my phone, relaxing, so that I can get myself back to work. You know, all those sort of funny things. So from your perspective, this is something I've always asked everyone who's come as the first question is, what do you think the value of millennials are, first of all? Let's even just start from there before we now go into balancing the weaknesses, the strengths and things like that. But from your end, do you really think millennials have value when it comes to working in a team or working in an organization?
Well, millennials, just like every other generation, have their own values. Now, I'm sure you've heard this before. If the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. Now, if you don't understand how an automatic car drives and you've always driven a manual car, you would have a problem, moving that vehicle and all of that. So, yeah, millennials have value, very, very energetic. Millennials are very, very quick thinkers, very active, always involved, sometimes considered to be impatient and, maybe lazy, always on the computer, always on the phone, always, distracted and all of that. But if you understand the import, the power behind the kind of energy that millennials have, you would be able to put them into the right use. You'll be able to harness that, the strength, as opposed to downplaying it and just screaming on top of your voice is what the perceived weakness of the millennials. I mean, every generation have their own weaknesses. We can't take that out. But the fact that, it's millennials have come in and, I would say millennials have pretty much come in to disrupt the way things are done in almost every industry. And so, change is not something that is easily welcomed by anybody. I mean, if somebody comes in here now tries to just, change the way everything is done, I mean, set up in this studio and all of that, you would resist it, no matter how good it is, what they are trying to say. But I mean, like, we've done it this way, it's worked and all that. Now, accepting the change is now something else we need to, need to think about. So, yeah, millennials definitely do have value.
Okay. Now, I hear that. What would you advise? Okay, you're sitting, let's imagine, okay, I'm a 60-year-old man. I've had this organization for 30 years. I'm looking at moving forward. I see these young people being on their phones, being on Instagram. Some have their 2-1s, some have their 2-2s. But I'm not seeing the work thing. I'm not seeing the drive to be at work at 7:30 in the morning. I'm not saying the drive to stay till 8 o'clock in the morning. What would you tell me? What approach would you advise for me to double up on my team to at least keep my company going forward for these 10, 20 years now? Okay,
so we assume that you have millennials working in your organization.
A bit of them,
but you find it hard marrying the mindsets of the millennials with, like the GenX and all that. Okay, so basically, from a human resource perspective, that comes to, we look at that from what we call employee engagement, and you need to understand your people. You need to know the people you're working with. Right now, I'm sure you've heard about the future of work. The future of work. People are talking about the future of work, the future of these. Okay, now, the future of the workplace.
Okay.
The alternative workforce. I don't know if you ever heard of that. You have people...
This is what you call gig economy.
Exactly, gig employment, the freelance contracts.
Before you continue, can you please explain what gig economy means? I've seen many things, but I just need... I'm sure many people also have heard about this, right? Have you heard about that before? Gig economy. So he's not heard about it, for example. Producer has not heard about it. A couple of people have not heard about it. It's an interesting term. Can you just explain what that means?
Okay, let me just go into it from the HR perspective. Now, the gig employment, you have these days, people say a lot of young people really don't want to work for anybody as such anymore because the opportunities are there. You have people screaming on top of their voices every opportunity they get that, start your own business. But the truth is not everybody would start their own business. But you can be a freelancer. You can have a gig. You can run a gig shop. So I do, for instance, I'm an HR consultant. I've done that for quite a number of years and all that. So I can sell my services to you, sell my services to the producer, and I have no long-term ties to you. I'm just a freelance person. It's just a gig. Right. So we call me on board. Okay, we have this we have this business. We need these hands. We need skills. We need, say for instance, we are trying to produce a movie. For instance, I'm just saying that now. And so you need directors. You need producers. You need people to do sound. You need people to do lighting. You need people to. So you just call the different people and all that, right? And bring them on board to do it. So do what you want them to do. This
is something that I know a couple of people have done around here is instead of employing people and they now have to pay salaries and all of that. And it's sometimes looking at the way the economy is sometimes in Africa, you don't know when the next revenue is going to come from. Yeah, so you just hold on. You just have a hot desk somewhere, and then right. I understand that. Okay, so back to the 60-year-old man.
So the man has to definitely. So he has an organization that is a mix of different generations. He has the Generation X.
He has the boomers. He himself is a boomer.
He's a boomer, but I would find it a bit funny to still. We still have boomers on board, but I'm just saying. So there's Generation Y, definitely Millennials, and the Generation Z. He might or he might not have. Okay, so managing the Generation Y, the Millennials. Millennials are very active. Okay, I'll tell you something. In other climes, say you have organizations who use different kind of techniques to relate and communicate with their employees. Now, a millennial is somebody who has always been on the telephone, always been on the computer. He's exactly. So we grew up on these things, and you log in and you're doing this and that. Why not engage them in the kind of things that they're used to? Why not engage them using the language they understand? Why not engage them? Say for instance, you have interaction platforms within your workspace where people like can Slack go. And things like that. Yeah, people. Slack is pretty much is open source, but organizations actually build their own just for security and all that. Build their own platforms that are integrated into their human resource information system and all of that and everything, so you can manage your staff effectively and all that. So people are constantly interacting with their managers. They do things we call check-ins. Okay, that's taking it into performance management and all of that. But you have constant, feedback and interacting with your line managers. You're talking. You have access. You don't physically have to be in the office. You talked about somebody sending you an email at 2 a.m.
But this older man, you have to be in front of him.
The thing is this.
There's that thing.
It's unfortunately what's going to happen is
he has to learn. Sorry.
Is it that he learns or he goes? Because things have changed.
Right.
The way we do business has changed. The way things are done is changed. Back in the day, you get into an office, you see piles of papers.
On the shelf.
You see. You see what they were called. They used to have like chests. Yes, they have a chest of drawers. You pull them out, and there's so many files and all that. But these days,
it's just on cloud.
I
was talking with Mr. Austin Okere.
Okay,
he's the founder of Computer Wells Group. Yes, he has a leadership academy now. And then he was saying that really, he's in his 60s. He said that any organization willing to be relevant now and be in the future should at least have a millennial sitting somewhere in the boardroom. So what you said just now, that if the man is not willing to learn, then he's ready to go. Okay, I'm just trying to.
You've just touched on a major point now. So sitting in the boardroom, you're talking about holding a strategic position. So driving the business So sitting at that level means that you are involved in the design of processes and policies and crafting the future. The strategy for the organization. This is what we as a business want to be known for. This is what we want to do, and this is how we want to do it now. So if you have a millennial who understands the mindset, who understands how other millennials think at that strategic level, and you have a lot of millennials within your organization, they can give you very, very good insight to understand, okay, this is how we think. This is how, especially if your target markets are millennials, you don't want to find yourself spending so much money doing stuff that would not communicate to the people you're trying to get across to.
Which your target audience should even be millennials anyways, because we control spending power in a bit.
I mean, exactly. Now. So, I mean, well, not completely, totally. Yeah. I mean, so in a bit, exactly. So it depends on the part of markets you're looking at.
In next 10-5 years.
Well,
you don't think so?
Well, I'm one to. I rely a lot on data and information and all that, but at the same time, the way things are.
36. In 10 years, it'll be 46. The money is going to be with us.
20 years, I mean, let me say 30, 40 years from before now, nobody thought there would be a millennial generation with these kind of characteristics. Okay. So you don't know what's going to happen in the next 10 years. There might be a generation coming behind you that will change everything.
We will control it. We will, and Gen Z. Let's take a short break. Let's take a short break, and then we'll be back. I really need to ask questions on culture. How you've been able to, in your experience, balance the different culture orientations of, especially Gen X, Boomers, and Millennials, and a bit of Gen Z. That's a very, very important thing that a lot of people in Africa, even in Nigeria and Lagos, everywhere should understand. So let's just have a little bit of break, and then we'll be back.
Okay.
There are 1.8 billion globally. That will make 75% workforce by 2025. That will outspace earnings of baby boomers in less than 10 years. Smartphones and tablets are the argument settlers and fact checkers of every conversation. Get more insight on African Millennials on Africa Business Radio. Towards a profitable Africa.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Tony, I wish we could have 3 hours on this show. I mean, you said so many things in the last set of minutes, and I'm just wondering I could just pick that, expand it, but my producer, give us more time now. Should we have 1 hour, 2 hours? All right.
Okay.
All right. So, Tony, this cultural thing, right? It's the boomers, right? They are more entrepreneurial in nature because after the World War and things like that, they started creating things. Now, they created platforms that the Gen X now came to fix bricks into and ensure that the structure was standing. So the Gen X is most likely used to come, pick up your brick, drop it, and go. But then the millennial is here, right? It's like, okay, that structure they are building can be changed, right? Why don't you do it this way, dude? And then the Gen Z are looking and observing things, right? There's a cultural thing. That's why millennial want to stay at work from 8 to 5. All right, he just thinks, okay, even if I'm going to stay here, can you just make it a bit flexible, right? He has seen the organizations like Facebook and Google and how they've been able to free up the normal work suit things, and it's just t-shirts and jeans, and it's a very colorful yellow background office environment. There's a cultural thing happening that the Gen X are really quite resistant to. I don't know how to continue with this question, but please tell me.
Okay, you and I were talking about culture a while back, and so culture from 2 perspectives now. From the first perspective, we talk of the culture of the generation. So there's a Gen X culture, there's a Gen Y culture, there's a Gen Z culture. Yeah. Now there's culture of a people. So we're talking our people, Nigerians. There's a European culture. Okay, so there are different cultures. So talking about the millennials and their culture, millennials are pretty much considered the most independent workers.
Okay,
the millennials are considered the
independent workers do they achieve results with that?
Yes.
Good, thank you. That's what I just wanted to be
No,
sure.
see, the thing is this now. For someone to be, if someone is independent and what will I say now? An agile organization that understands the importance of it. See, it is better for you to have independent employees than to have dependent employees, because how would I bring you in to do some work for me and I have to stay on you every time to do what you are supposed to do?
So that's a major strength of millennials.
It's a major strength.
Thank you very much. I like that.
If harnessed properly. Now,
Okay.
somebody can be independent, but without the right direction. So you need structures within the organization. You need to put the right learning, and there needs to be proper, training, learning and development, continuous personal developments, the right structures, the right work tools, the right exposure. People need to have, bringing in the right millennials who have exposed their minds, who have been well trained into this thing, who have been trained into your organization. Now, if you bring those kind of people into your organization, they're very, very independent. Tell them what it is they need to do. They will do it and get it done. Now, we are not used to having people, the baby boomer generation and the GenX. You come to work, workaholics. I want to stay from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 p.m. in the night. IT has come and changed a lot of things. What used to take so much time to do could be done in shorter periods of time. Now, back in those days, the person that comes to work earliest and leaves the office latest is considered the most diligent, the most committed, the most loyal, and and all of that. But things have changed.
But it's just results on the go.
It's results. It's results. People sit on their phones. I mean, I was in London like 2 months ago, and I was talking to a friend. And he controls 3 regions. He sits
somewhere. He doesn't have to travel all the time.
He's a millennial. Right. And he's controlling teams in different locations, 3 different regions, and all of that. So,
wow, Tony, you have said a lot of things. I'm happy that this thing is coming from someone who has had experiences in human resources, not just in Africa, in the West also. He has seen the different cultural things. I'm talking about culture as regards generational cultures, and also culture of the West and culture of Africa. And then you're telling us that millennials are results driven, millennials are independent, and all an organization needs to do is to understand how they respond to content.
You must be able to harness
content,
the
how they respond to organizational operations.
Exactly.
Right? And then understand that millennials are the best things to be in an organization right now. Thank you so much, Tony. Please, you can go on LinkedIn and check Oluwatoyin David Ajayi for more of these conversations. Tony, can we have you back in the studio in a bit?
Sure.
Please, we need you back in the studio. This 30 minutes is too small for this.
I'm more than happy to come back anytime.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. All right, bye for now, guys. We will see you on Friday on the African Millennial Radio Show. I'm Tomi Wale. See you then. Bye.
There are 1.8 billion globally. That will make 75% workforce by 2025. That will outspace earnings of baby boomers in less than 10 years. Smartphones and tablets are the argument settlers and fact checkers of every conversation. Get more insights on African Millennials on Africa Business Radio, towards a profitable Africa.